Hey guys, what's up? Darcy here at 6 Strings 9 Lives, back for another video. Actually a long overdue ranking video. Was asked to do a ranking video on Slayer a while back. Got it on my list amongst quite a few other bands that I'll eventually do. No rush, just kind of pick them off whenever, I have some spare time or whatever. But next up should be Motorhead. Then I'd love to tackle the UDO discography. Wasp, there's quite a few others. An updated version of the Testament discography to include the new album. Still too new for me. I wouldn't know where that would quite fit in yet, but we'll get to those. But today we are going to take a look at, actually this is the only one of the big four that I haven't done a ranking on. But finally going to get to it. I've had these sitting on my desk, honestly, for weeks, kind of going through one at a time when I got some spare time. And yeah, ready for a ranking. There is 12 studio albums here if you include Undisputed Attitude, which we will for the sake of this video. And actually at some point we'll even throw in the EP Haunting the Chapel. I was asked in a previous video, I think it was the Queensryche video, usually I don't really include covers albums or EPs, but someone asked me where would you put the Queensryche EP, and good question for sure. So like I said, we will talk a bit about Haunting the Chapel. So Slayer, and you know what, this is the only band out of the big four that I've unfortunately never seen live. I know that's hard to believe, but where I live, it's even the last tour here, for the album Repentless and their kind of retirement tour, it's a good 5 hours drive even to get there. So I think here where I live in Canada, the closest they would have played would have been Winnipeg, that's in the province of Manitoba, or Calgary and Edmonton, which is in the province of Alberta. So yeah, definitely a big hike. Would have loved to see Slayer, especially in their prime, and we'll get to that too. But let's get started here. And this one will be last. And like I said, for the sake of this video, I did include it, but not an album that I really go to at all. I've listened to it a few times and just it's not my thing, but some people probably love it because a lot of covers on here, stuff like that. But that's coming in at number 12 is Undisputed Attitude. 98.7% covers. There is 2 originals on here. Can't Stand You and Gemini, both written by Jeff. So coming in at number 12, Undisputed Attitude. Coming in at number 11, and kind of the period where, I wasn't really, I wasn't on or off the Slayer bus. I just kind of had to park the bus for a while because I had kids and things. Like in the, mid 90s, kids came along. I mean, my second son was born actually when this next album came out, and just didn't have the money to buy all this stuff. And so I did lose a bit of track, but have since owned these albums for a good 10 years or so now. But coming in at number 11 is Diablos and Musica. Again, a bit more on the experimental side. Maybe people compare this to a little bit of the new metal, and you know exactly what happened in the 90s with bands trying different things, and this is maybe Slayer trying different things. Another Rick Rubin produced album. A couple of tracks that I do really enjoy on here is Bitter Peace, Stain of Mind, probably my favorite track. But coming in at number 11 is Diablos and Musica. Coming in at number 10, and this is their last studio album. Some people would maybe see this a little higher, maybe even lower. I do enjoy this album. I really do like the production. This one is, you're used to the Slayer albums produced by, Rick Rubin or Greg Fiedelman's involved, who's involved with Metallica. I think he's pretty much their permanent guy now for Metallica. But this one's produced by Terry Date, and I've always loved Terry Date production with, some Pantera, Metal Church, Overkill, bands like that. But coming in at number 10 is Repentless, their final album, and only one to not feature Jeff Hanneman. Rest in peace, Jeff. He is sadly missed. So Gary Holt came in to replace Jeff. I mean, you can't replace Jeff. That's impossible. But Gary Holt, I love Gary Holt, so it was very good to see him get the job with Slayer. He's definitely paid his dues, and for him to make a few extra dollars in his life and things like that, well deserved. But this album is I do like it. I absolutely do like this album. There's actually one track on here. Which one is it? That is I don't know if it's Jeff's final song he ever written. Well, obviously to make an album, he's not on it, but he wrote the music and lyrics for Piano Wire. I do love that song. Repentless, the album title track, Take Control, When the Stillness Comes. So that is coming in at number 10 is Repentless. I've heard, mixed reviews on that album, but like I said, I do enjoy it. I definitely don't dislike it. And with these ranking videos, I mean, even when we get near the top, a lot of this is, maybe Repentless was your intro to Slayer. I don't know. There's huge age gaps with, there is no age on a metal fan. I'll be a metal fan till the day I die. But anyways, what I'm saying is, these are for shits and giggles. So hopefully you just sit back and enjoy my take on some of these albums. But coming in at number 9 is, 2006 Christ Delusion. Some typical Wicked Slayer artwork. So this one actually is the return of Dave Lombardo after, leaving the band for a few years. And, Paul Bostaph stepped in, a great drummer in himself too. So this is, what do we got here? Actually, yeah, an executive producer, Rick Rubin. So this one is produced and mixed by Josh Abram. Some key tracks on here that I really enjoy is Eyes of the Insane, Jihad, and the last track, what's that? This one's really hard to read. Supremacist, pretty cool. So that is coming in at number 9 is Christ Illusion. All right, coming in at number 8 is 1994 Divine Intervention. So this is where Paul Bostaph came in and took over drums for Dave Lombardo. And, of course, Dave came back for Christ Illusion, and he was back for another album here I'm going to show you very shortly. But, yeah, so here is Divine Intervention. So this is early 90s, 1994. I bought this when it was first released. And, it was, a bit of a departure from, Seasons. And, but there's some great tracks on here, really, that I enjoy anyways. Sex, Murder, Art, Ditto Head, really like that track. I think 2 of my favorite tracks for sure is Serenity and Murder and 213. Very cool beginning to that 213. I really enjoy that one. Executive producer Rick Rubin. So Rick Rubin's involved in, all these early Slayer. I still consider this, fairly early, mid Slayer, whatever. So coming in at number 8 is Divine Intervention. Coming in at number 9, number 8. Coming in at number 7 is 2009's World Painted Blood. So this is Jeff's last studio album that he was featured on. Again, Dave Lombardo's back on this album. And I really enjoy this album too. There's some really cool tracks on this one. World Painted Blood, great song. Hate Worldwide, love that song. And my favorite track on this album, believe it or not, a lot of people don't mention this track, but it's American. I think that's a great one. Produced and mixed by Greg Fiedelman, that I mentioned earlier, who's involved with pretty much everything Metallica these days. So, yeah. So number 7, World Painted Blood. Coming in at number 6. And we'll just show the graphic version of this cover. So this is 2001's God Hates Us All, coming in at number 6. And there was another little, you guys will be more familiar with this because a lot of stores wouldn't carry this album with this artwork. So this is kind of how it, actually the vinyl reissue has this from what I've seen. So yeah, coming in at number 6, out of the, newer Slayer, this is one that I will go back to time and time again, versus, for me, and obviously, what's left here. I mean, the first 5 Slayer are absolutely where it's at for me personally. But anyways, there's some great tracks on here. Disciple, Cast Down, love that track. Bloodline, Here Comes the Pain, and Payback. So that is coming in at number 6 is God Hates Us All. And kind of here's the meat and potatoes of this ranking video. I do really love these 5 albums, and I see people are doing a ranking or whatever. These are been in every different possible mathematical combination. This one's first, and people are generally pretty receptive of these last 5 albums from what I've seen, and it's not like, well, you can't put that number 3 it's got to be number 4, where you dropped on your head. It's not like that. It's just like I said before, it's for shits and giggles. But anyways, coming in at number 5, their debut album, Show No Mercy. I absolutely love this album. This is heavily influenced by the new wave of British heavy metal. I watched an interview one time with Kerry King, and he, talking about the early days and how much, they love bands like, the early Def Leppard stuff, their first album. Judas Priest, he would say, I'm kind of like the Glenn, he's not comparing himself that he is Glenn Tipton, but I'm Glenn Tipton and Jeff is KK, they really love that stuff, and we all did that. I mean, I played many of air guitar brooms when I was a youngster, for sure, I'll tell you. But anyways, love this album. Just anything on this album is good. Evil Has No Boundaries, Die by the Sword, love that song. Tormentor wraps up with Show No Mercy. So coming in at number 5 is 1983's Show No Mercy. And I think this is right where this is where I'm going to insert Haunting the Chapel. So this is the 1984 EP, Haunting the Chapel. And this is kind of the spot where I would put it. Well, we're going to call this 4.5, in between 4 and 5. But just a great EP. This one actually includes the track Aggressive Perfector from the Metal Massacre, whatever number that was. So yeah, anyways, I think that Metal Massacre, I mean, out of that full, I read the band track listing of that. I think Slayer was obviously one of the most notable on there for sure, but Chemical Warfare, Captor of Sin, and Haunting the Chapel, all killer stuff. So we got to put that in there. Definitely have to mention that. Coming in at number 4, and again, this could be your number 1 and or your number 3, whatever. But here is my number 4. This is 1985's Hell Awaits. So this is right, 2 years after Show No Mercy, a year after Haunting the Chapel. And to me, this is where Slayer hits their most Slayerness. They're just, this is where they found that perfect sound. I found a lot of these albums always a little bit, their sound is a little bit thin on the production in areas, but I think that sets them apart. That sound is Slayer. So anyways, great album. Coming in at number 4, Hell Awaits, At Dawn They Sleep. Just hardening of the arteries. Just an all over fantastic album. Coming in at number 4. And these last 3 are, well, not that these past 2 weren't exciting, but these are really, if I'm wanting to listen to some Slayer, just like right now, pick something off the shelf, it would most likely be one of these 3 albums. Now, coming in at number 3 is their 5th overall studio album from 1990, Seasons in the Abyss. Just top to bottom, great album. Last to feature Dave Lombardo until 2006 on Christ Delusion. But yeah, pick a song. Just like I said, just great stuff. War Ensemble, Dead Skin Mask, Hollow Point, Born on Fire, wrapping up with Seasons in the Abyss. To me, this one is kind of takes Rain in Blood and South of Heaven, and really kind of it's just a perfect blend of those 2 albums. You got the speed and aggression of Rain in Blood. You got the kind of the slowed down ness of South of Heaven, and makes this masterpiece. Some very cool artwork here too. So coming in at number 3, Seasons in the Abyss, which only leaves 2, and we'll reveal this one here, and then you'll know absolutely what my number 1 is, and we'll talk about why are those so important to you. Anyways, number 2, South of Heaven, which leaves 1 more, but we'll talk about that. So I just love this album, and this came out in 1988. I bought it brand new on release day on cassette, and just couldn't put it down. I just loved like I said earlier, just they slowed this one down a bit. The riffs are just awesome. I remember hearing Mandatory Suicide, for example. Just what an opening riff. Just loved it. Tracks like South of Heaven, Behind the Crooked Cross, Spill the Blood. And, at the time, and I've heard people say they didn't even know Dissident Aggressor was a Judas Priest song. They thought, they thought it was a Slayer original, but here's the back cover. But they do a heck of a job on Dissident Aggressor, showing their, love for Judas Priest, and like I said earlier, for the new wave of British heavy metal. But just such a solid album. I do listen to this one quite often. Love it. So coming in number 2, South of Heaven, leaving Rain in Blood. Whether this is cliche as my number 1, but this is when I got into Slayer. And, at the time, this was the most extreme music I ever listened to. So coming in at number 1 is Rain in Blood. Like I said, you already know that. But, you take out the lyrics on this, and it's almost something like I was afraid to listen to, is like, what's going to happen to me? Because this is like some bad shit, something I'd want to hide from my parents. But just a very 1986 was just a very impactful year as far as, even the big 4. You got Megadeth, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? Master of Puppets by Metallica. The year after, you got Anthrax, Among the Living. You got Slayer with this, 28-minute or whatever it is, Thrasher piece. It just had a big impact on me. And I remember, like I said, I was reading through these lyrics, and there's just really not a weak track on here. But one thing always stuck out in my mind, and it was on the song Necrophobic. Ripping apart, severing flesh, gouging eyes, tearing limb from limb, and then just You know, no, sorry, that was bad. But anyways, you know what I mean. Just get you pumped up. And like Rain and Blood, I can listen to, you know, those, that, you know, that knock, 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 and then right into that song. I could listen to that every day. It just gets me fired up all the time. But anyways, Angel of Death, Piece by Piece. Actually, I love the song Postmortem. I think it's fantastic. And Raining Blood, the whole thing is just solid and my #1 Slayer album. So, and like I said, you know, I don't know, just the impact that this album alone had on thrash and moving forward. You know, you can't deny that, whether you love it or hate it, but definitely, like I said, influenced a lot of bands, things like that. But anyways, there is my Slayer ranking. Well, we got that one under our belt now, so hopefully you enjoyed that. You know, let me, as usual, let me know in the comments, you know, what are your top 3 to 5 Slayer albums? I imagine I would see a few of these on here. And there is some good stuff to be found in their later albums, some good tracks. But overall, you know what, those top 5 are just, they're must-have metal in my opinion. Anyways, I'll stop babbling on, and until I see you guys in the next video, stay heavy.